Show you that whatever life you are looking for, whatever it is you're searching for, is right there before you. All you need to do is take the chance and take the bold step and actualize your dreams. It's now time for Economic Trend, the Monday edition on Rock City 101.9 FM. And taking you through the reports is myself, Chienye. Good morning and welcome to the program Economic Trend. Starting with this very report, the active accounts in banks in the country have dropped sharply following the anti-corruption campaign of the Buhari administration, and data from the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System indicates that the number of customers of banks has dropped from 61 million in 2016 to 59 million last year. Also, the active accounts in the banks reduced from 65 million in 2016 to 63.5 million in 2017, as well as the current account, which dropped from 25 million in 2016 to 22 million last year. But the savings account in the banks increased from 69 million to 74 million in 2017, while the corporate account remains at 6 for the 2 years. Also on the rise are linked accounts, which the data puts at 26 million in 2016 and 41 million in 2017. Accounts with bank verification number also increased from 26 million in 2016 to 41.3 million last year. Taking a peep to Nasarawa State Government, they have begun the installation of the 4 modern fertilizer blending plants in the state. The 4 fertilizer blending plants sited in Lafia, Akwanga and Kefi comprise the big, medium and the modular types. Governor Umar Al-Makura last weekend received the technical staff of Bendo and Tongye automated control equipment from China, who were in the States to kick off the installation work of the plants. The governor says the modern fertilizer blended plants imported from China will produce customized fertilizer that will be suitable to the soil chemical compositions and types of the state. Al-Makura explains that when the installation is completed, each senatorial zone of the state will be producing its own fertilizer. According to him, the government and Morocco had concluded negotiation for the exploration of soil and chemical components for the actualization of the project. President Muhammadu Buhari has inaugurated the 50 billion naira Sante Golden Sugar Estate in the Mokwa local government area of Niger State. Buhari says sugar plant, which has created 10,000 new jobs in the largest agro-allied investment in Nigeria. The sugar factory will produce 100,000 metric tons of sugar annually, employ a network of 3,000 small-scale outgrowers of sugarcane. Buhari says the socio-economic impact of the company's investments cannot be quantified as lives will be changed and the impact on the national economy will be significant, stating that the benefits of the River Niger have been overlooked for too long. The chairman of Flour Mills of Nigeria, Mr. John, explains that the Sante sugar plant will save Nigeria $100 million in foreign exchange every year and also strengthen the capacity and economic status of the people. The Sante Golden Sugar Estate occupies 17,000 hectares of land in Mokwa local government area of Niger State, out of which 10,000 hectares is being used as sugarcane farm. The Ahmadu Bello University, Abu in Zaria, seeks to establish conventional and standard locally built refineries in Niger Delta region to boost local production of petroleum products. The team leader, Abu Refinery Project, Professor Ibrahim Mohammed Dabo, made a disclosure in an interview in Zaria in Kaduna State. Mohammed Dabo, who is a professor of chemical engineering, says the ultimate goal of the project was to have a conventional and standard locally built refinery that can be refining Nigerian crude. He hopes that if enough funding is made available to perfect what the team have on ground, it will be willing to build other ones that can be stationed in the Niger Delta. He recalls that the Abu Mini Refinery project started in year 2011 when he wrote a research proposal to the university management for onward delivery to Tertiary Education Trust Fund for funding. In monetary terms, Mohammed Dabo says the initial stage of the project was proposed to cost a total of 18 million naira, but only 1.8 million naira was approved for that very project. The refinery, according to him, is made up of many units The first unit being the desalting and crude distillation unit, which the team designed, constructed, installed and operated with the support of the university. He also explains that the Raw Materials Research and Development Council in Abuja was approached to fund two units, which were the naphtha hydrotreating unit and the fluid catalytic cracking unit. According to him, the team is equally working on other units such as the kerosene hydrotreating unit, the catalytic reforming unit, soil water stripping unit, and flared gas recovery unit. The Lake Chad Research Institute (LCRI) Maiduguri says Nigeria spends about $4.2 billion on wheat importation annually. The Institute Executive Director, Mr. Oluwashino Olabanji, made this known at a capacity building workshop for wheat farmers in the South-South Agroecological Zone in Benin City. Olabanji says the national consumption of wheat is about 4.7 million metric tons, while local production is less than the demand. He suggests that to bridge the gap between what Nigerians consume and what we produce, there is the need to expand the scope to the southwest, the southeast, and the south-south regions. Olabanji says that plans were underway to reduce wheat importation by 60% in 2025, adding that Nigeria had the potentials to be self-sufficient in wheat production. He says that Nigeria had 650,000 hectares of land for wheat production in the north and about 80,000 hectares for wheat production during the rainy season in Cross River, Jos, and Taraba. The federal government, according to him, is committed to the diversification of the nation's economy through agriculture, adding that the capacity building for the farmers was to train the trainers. And to the next report, AFDB. The African Development Bank on Friday said it will invest $711.5 million into projects in the country, including power supply. The bank's Vice President for Power, Energy, Climate Change and Green Growth Complex, Mr. Amado Hot, made the pledge when he led a delegation of the bank on a visit to Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The AFDB VP said the bank had a program to support the solar projects in the country worth $477 million and another $150 million for other projects. He says the bank is on the verge of approving the grant of $1.5 million to support the Jigawa Solar Project, a new initiative of up to 1,000 megawatts. The first phase will be 100 megawatts. He also explains that the bank have agreed to support the Transmission Company of Nigeria (TCN) with a total of $410 million for critical transmission projects, which was initially $200 million. And down to Ogun State, Governor Ibekele Amoso has asked farmers, processors, and other stakeholders to improve local production of rice, sugar, and wheat to reduce importation of such farm produce into the country. Amosu made the call while declaring the open maiden edition of Ogun State Foods and Farm Produce Expo holding at the MKO Abiola Trade Fair Complex at Okemoso here in Abeokuta. The governor, represented by the Agriculture Minister, Commissioner Mrs. Adepeju Adebajo, says increasing food production will ensure gainful employment and stem the tide of rural-urban migration. It describes the exhibition's theme, enhancing food security through commercial agricultural development, as very timely, given the attention to the agricultural sector in the country. Chairman of All Farmers Association of Nigeria for Ogun State Chapter, Prince Olusegun Dasaolu, lauds the state government for its efforts at encouraging large production of local rice, particularly with the introduction of the state-branded Nature's rice into the Nigerian market. Dasaolu also commended the efforts of the state government for addressing challenges facing farmers by procuring large growing equipment for their use. The event was attended by the Special Advisor to the Governor on Agriculture, Mr. Akinola Lawson, Engineer Dipo Oyewole, who chaired the event, Afan Consultant, Mr. Bolaji Atushe, Veteran Broadcaster Arabo Taiwo Alimi, farmers, processors, and manufacturers. Ogun State Government plans to construct a bus terminal at the Shagamu interchange to cater for passengers traveling within the state and the country. Special Advisor to the Governor on Transportation, Benga Okwesowo, says the proposed terminal will also cater for commuters who are traveling to the eastern and northern parts of the country. He explains that the location was chosen due to the industry springing up in the axis and the workers and customers requiring a safe terminal to board the transport. More of the terminals, according to him, will be constructed with lay-by and bus stops at Mowe, Ibafo, and Isheri, as well as Songwater, Kuto, and Itoshi in Abeokuta, as well as Ijebu-Ode. More reports coming from Ogun State government. Some people have been arrested in the Ogun State Government Forest Reserve by a special task force for selling land in the forest. They were arrested by the task force during a routine patrol in the area J1 Forest Reserves. The Forestry Commissioner, Chief Kolawole Lawal, who led the operation, told newsmen at the forest that they were discovered to be destroying economic trees and illegally allocating land to people. Lawal also expresses concern that several illegal violence and some notorious people have been encroaching on land in forest reserves, selling land to them to farmers from the neighboring states, and those arrested, the Commissioner assures, will be prosecuted. 18 minutes to noon, and it's still the program Economic Trend on Rock City 101.9 FM. The House of Representatives has directed the Nigerian Bottling Company (NBC) producers of Fanta and Sprite to indicate in their products that consumption with vitamin C was dangerous to health. The lawmakers also directed the National Agency for Drug Administration and Control to ensure that manufacturers listed all the chemical compositions in the drinks. They expressly ordered the NBC to, as a matter of compulsion, tell Nigerians that Fanta and Sprite were dangerous to health when consumed with ascorbic acid. The House said this must be done by printing warning labels on the stipulated products. The House Ad Hoc Committee, which investigated the production as well as the distribution of drinks manufactured by the Nigerian Bottling Company Limited and other drinks produced or marketed in Nigeria, made these recommendations. The committee also expressed worry that benzoic acid content in Nigeria was much higher than what was obtained in other climes. For instance, while it is 250 milligrams per kilogram in Nigeria, it's 250 kilograms per kilogram in the UK. Also on the hearing, the Consumer Protection Council (CPC) stated that sunset yellow can be done away with while benzoic acid level could be reduced. But in her presentation at the hearing, Mrs. Simidele Onabanjo, a deputy director who represented the Director General of NAFDAC, said the preservatives were healthy. Morrison Industries plc has raised $502.2 million new equity funds through the right issue to provide it with a much-needed boost to reposition its operations. The allotment results for the rights issue, approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC), showed that the rights issue was oversubscribed by 1.12 million ordinary shares against 836.98 million shares placed on offer. The shareholders took 838.11 million ordinary shares. Morrison Industries last year floated a new capital, raising for about $502.2 million in new equity funds through the new share sale to existing shareholders. It also offered a rights issue of 836.98 million ordinary shares of 50 kobo each at 60 kobo per share on the basis of 11 new ordinary shares for every 2 ordinary shares of 50 kobo held as of August 25, 2017. GTI Securities Limited also acted as the stockbroker to the supplementary share issuance, while GTI Capital Limited was the issuing house. The managing director, Morrison Industries plc, Mr. Umabweze Oputa, says the new equity funds will be deployed to improve working capital and finance the restructuring of the company. That will be it on today's edition of Economic Trend on Rock City 101.9 FM. It will be back again at the same time on Friday with another edition. Thank you very much for listening. I am Chienye. Good morning.